Hello, everyone. I got a good guest today, significant gentleman here, who by day, I believe he's a mortgage broker. He can correct me if I'm wrong later on. And by night, of course, he's a salsa dancer, Kizomba dancer, you name it, bachata dancer. And, one thing that I've never found out until about hours ago is that he used to lead, co-direct, director, assistant, and whatnot at Santo Rico Semi-Pro. Is that correct, Stefan?
Yeah, so I was part of Exhibición Santo Rico back in the day when they were still in Spanish Harlem, 123rd Street and 2nd Avenue. Definitely miss those days. And I was a captain of that team for a little bit, not too long, but the reality is we were there. We were at Santo Rico for 5 years, so we were there for a long time and went through the ranks. I think now that school is moved down to Florida. So things change. Everybody moves around. They're in Florida. I'm in Hawaii now. So definitely things have changed. It's a different time period.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Stefan. Estefan or Stefan?
Stefan is my club name.
Estefan.
Stefan most of the time.
uh,
Stefan is usually what everybody calls me.
he
I'm used
was
to everything, but yeah.
he was teaching several classes at the festival at 2018, I believe, at the Hawaii Bachata Festival. 2018, at my festival. I think that was during November.
Yep.
And we had a good conversations after that. We had lunch, gotten to know each other, and ever since we communicate off and on Facebook. Um, if you ever wanted to know about anything about Hawaii, not to mention even in the Mambo days in New York City, you ask this guy. He's on Facebook, and what's it like? What was it like when you were in Santo Rico? As far as salsa is concerned, what was the environment like compared to now?
All right. So I guess a little background on myself. I started dancing in '07.
Mhm.
I kind of consider that '07 to 2012 to be like the pinnacle of kind of at least the Mambo schools. At the time, I think that was really the height. You had LVG that began in the middle of that, having their anniversary party, and I think they started in '08. I think
Yeah.
was their first party. So just the best parties in the city. You still had Kache on Thursdays. That was amazing. Um, I started as a beginner, not having timing, like literally starting from scratch, not being Latino, and having to adapt, obsessed with the music. And
Mhm.
I mean, the music is what everybody, it's what gives you longevity. And the music in New York was incredible. The DJs were incredible. Every party was fire. Um, it was also intimidating though, as a
Yeah.
beginner coming
Yeah.
into the scene,
Yeah.
a lot of, it's like you're a beginner no matter what scene you're in. It doesn't matter if it's New York or the smallest town in America.
Yeah.
You're you're still a
I mean,
beginner.
you still had Jimmy Anton Social on Sundays during that time, right?
Yeah, the pinnacle of Jimmy Anton Social, and you still had that corner where all the professionals would come in and take over that space.
Yeah.
Um, that was that period of time. Things have changed a lot, and some people say it's worse. Some people say it's different. Whatever, but the real, if anything has changed, it's really you've seen a lot of those great events have suffered,
Yeah.
and we can talk about why that's happened. Um, but to me, the real preeminent event at the time was Kache on Thursdays. And for anybody who doesn't know, who wasn't there, I mean, this is over 10 years at this point. I'm starting to feel real old, 15 years, whatever it is. Um, if you start talking about Ismael Otero at some time, he makes me feel young, so I'll shout him out.
Yeah, that's true. That guy's old, man. I think I'm still older than him, but comparing to how he has been in the salsa world, yeah.
He's been around for a long time, and I shout him out because I remember seeing him at Kache and just throwing down. And Kache, like for anybody who doesn't know, was in Times Square on 46th Street. and was this random red door. And you would like, if you were just walking down the street on 46, you would totally miss it. And it would go down into the basement underneath, like you were like upstairs, they've got musicals and a theater. You're underneath this
Yeah,
little bar and this
yeah.
floor, and it's totally on the DL. You kind of, it's super easy to miss, but it was where like the best dancers would be, period.
Well,
And if you didn't have game, you would not show up.
that's the thing about New York social, man. It's either you're underground, right under, or right above. You know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
used to. There used to be a social there by Henry Knowles with Conga Club or something. See, here's the thing, Stefan, is that back then, whenever I go to New York, I know where to go. I knew where to go. Now, when I go to New York, I have to ask people, man. It's like, hey, where is it, dude? Is there any social during the week? You know?
Yeah, no, it's definitely changed. It's definitely changed. I will say that I have a feeling the next that New York's going to transition, and you're going to see a lot more outdoor venues, especially when the weather's nicer. They've I was just there for 2 weeks, and the entire Hudson Riverside has been built up. There's a lot of piers, a lot of like um, new stuff that the city is like recently built,
Yeah.
and I think those are going to become some nice venues. So you're going to see a lot of stuff move outdoors, and there's going to be more stuff for the public, which is a good thing
Yeah.
because major cities have really suffered. Major metro areas, commercial real estate prices had increased for a solid decade or two. You had, for instance, a lot of tech companies moving into Midtown Manhattan, pushing out a lot of dance studios. And if you don't have the dance studios, you don't have a social, a venue for a social.
Yeah.
So you've had a lot of venues over that decade really suffer for that. And just prices, like the pricing didn't make sense anymore for a lot of promoters to host venues. So you either started getting ridiculous prices, $25 for a social, um, per week, like not like a special event, like per week, which if you're in a smaller town in America, like say like second tier,
Yeah.
that's unheard of as a pricing. So that's happened, and that's how you have Kache can't
Yeah.
survive. That's
But,
why.
the pricing in New York, or at least in that area, is always tricky. Even if you have when you have Salsa Congress there, when you attend Salsa Congresses, it's still tricky because
Yeah,
you cannot compare that to the West Coast
right.
and some other parts of the United States where, at Congress wise, you either pay from $25 to $50 a night just to go there a night to watch performance and social dance. Whereas most of the locals would say, what the hell? I might as well go to the club because I see the same people that participated in this Congress. What's so special about this? That's the difference about the York Salsa Congress as opposed to other.
Well, that was a thing for a long time, right? Jimmy's would have his party on Sunday.
Yeah,
LVG would have their party the weekend before. Um, and the locals would be like a lot. There was a lot of locals that said, I'm just not, why go to the Congress? My average weekend in New York, the quality of dancers is better. If I'm paying for this, and you just got the New York like pretentiousness a little bit of
yeah.
like, I'm just not gonna bother. Like, I don't even need it.
It's the
I
same
always
thing.
went
It's
because I
the
wanted
same
the
thing if they
concert.
were to
So
hire a Spanish Harlem Orchestra, right? No, I see these people all the time.
yeah, New Swing Sextet, whatever. Like you
Yeah,
see that, and like Tito Rodriguez Jr. Played. I was at an event a year and a half ago that
yeah.
was free, like over by Lincoln Center. Like there's a lot that's available. Still, if El Gran Combo or Eddie Palmieri is playing at the New York, at the New York International Salsa Congress, I was going to be there. But I know a lot of people who are like, you know what, I don't want to spend that kind of money. I'm going to
Yeah,
go do my thing at Jimmy's, and I'm
yep,
good. And
yep.
so that's it. I
I
mean,
totally understood that.
it's hard though from a promoter, right? Like Choco and Edwin and all those guys that were for so many years were, it's a lot of like, you put on a ton of events. I've put on events. Like it's hard, man.
Yeah.
It's a lot of risk. It's a lot of sleepless nights. People don't really understand how much blood, sweat, and tears goes into that.
Oh God.
How
Yeah.
much anxiety, goes into that.
Don't even get me started with that shit, man. Because
Right. Yeah. Like if anybody
organizing one
knows,
event in itself, right, Stefan?
Right.
Organizing one event itself is stressful enough, and I organized several. You'll die, man. If you don't have the heart for it, you'll fucking die. I mean, look what happened to Choco. Look what happened to Albert Torres. And
Yeah, man.
David Melendez was different because he had cancer. That was a little different story there. But yeah,
It wears you down for sure. For
yeah.
sure. What are you doing for a workout? I hope you're taking care of yourself.
Dude,
You need to be.
I am 50 years old. I'm almost 55 this July. And so, the
That's not
joints
even
are not
fair.
as it used to be, bro. It's not it used to be. I mean, I used to dance salsa all night. I can't do that anymore, especially with fast songs. So I just do my daily walk these days. Thank God for the pandemic. In a sense, it's blessing in disguise because it forced me to look at myself as like, you gotta take care of your health there. Uh, because if you don't, and you're in this type of industry where it causes unnatural stress to a person like a promoter especially compared to regular people, it's not healthy, and this. You thank God you have several partners there. I don't.
Yeah, I
So
don't know how you do it, man. I
yeah.
don't I don't know how you do it. Yeah, I watched you operate, and I was like amazed at your efficiency, man. You definitely got it down to a science. So respect.
Yeah, you know where I learned that? I learned that from my wife. She is a natural manager, and she does this for her work at Wells Fargo. She manages a branch. Very organized. She's one of those people that has OCD, and I say that in a admirable way.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's very systematic, and I'm not that, because I'm a feeler, which means I could be so unorganized and I just want the party to be good. But then, you have a wife and it's like, no, 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 you're doing this all wrong. I was like, okay, dude, okay. But look, I'm curious to know because you're from New York. Were you born in New York, or
Mhm.
were you
No,
were
I
you
grew up. I grew up there. I was born in
yeah,
Bulgaria. I traveled. I lived in Africa for a couple of years. I lived in Italy for a couple of years before my family settled in New York.
yeah. And
Immigrant family like everybody else.
so for your heritage that you have, that you grew up in your culture, what made you attracted to Latin dancing, particularly mambo?
Um, so I mean, it's a good question. I mean, Eastern Europeans generally love to dance. We have folk dances. Eastern Europeans are known to do ballroom. Not that I did a ton of ballroom, but still, like it's pretty dancing is pretty natural. In Africa, there was I lived in Mozambique, which has a music form called marabenta,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and it's kind of like it's a sister music form to Kizomba, for
Right.
instance. Um, so I had some exposure there, but I'm honestly like it was more family. Like any family get-togethers, they would put lambada or they would put on salsa,
Yeah.
they would put on whatever. And I grew up in, I actually, the biggest thing for me, I think, was growing up in a pretty, one of the ghettos of New York where I had Colombians next to me. I had Mexicans on the next house. I had Ecuadorians on the next house, Panamanians next door, Puerto Ricans down the way. And everybody, people during the weekends are playing music. They're playing merengue, they're playing salsa, they're playing whatever. And you get exposure from that, and you have your conversations. But a lot of people, they might be playing the music, but they don't know, they don't know artists, or they don't know whatever. Like they don't, they can't go deep into it.
Yeah.
Eventually, that gave me the exposure when I was really young to it, to at least have the ear to enjoy it. And then at some point, I asked somebody, give me a couple names of these artists because this music is amazing. And once I got that, I just fell deep into the rabbit hole. Got as much music as I could. I'm thousands of albums in at this point, and it was a life changing event. Like Latin music for me, feeding my soul. Like that was the biggest thing. One of the biggest catalyst for change in my life, not just for as far as the dance, but just what it does for me emotionally.
Yeah.
And so I find that was a blessing, being in those neighborhoods and getting that exposure. So
Question is, I'm curious about in New York City because every time I go there, I meet old folks, and when they said, you know, they don't know what the hell on two. What does that mean? They're dancing on two, okay, but I don't know what the fuck that means, you know. So I'm curious with you when you started mambo dancing, were you educated from the get go that you were dancing on two, or you were just basically just dancing, and then you figured out earlier on that you were breaking on two?
so yeah, so it's I don't know what I was breaking on, like 3.5 or something, like first like 3 months. But um so I went to a lot of schools, and there was somebody that finally like put me under their wing and took care of me. He used to be at Santo Rico as a captain of Exhibición previously, and he actually was one of the first people that broke off to go start Yamole.
I see, I see.
So he took me under his wing when he was starting a school down in Soho, and he worked on timing with me first and foremost. And once that's solidified, there was nothing else. I didn't learn how to dance on one until I came out to Hawaii.
Right,
Um,
right, right.
and there were a couple of spots, particularly like some of the Cuban little bars, whatever, that you'll have some folks dancing on one, but
Yeah,
for the majority, everybody's dancing on two. And even, I remember going into this little place called 108 Lounge
yeah.
on 108th Street. There's nobody in there except for like some like 7-year-olds watching boxing, you know, dancing a little bit on the side, and I'm expecting a social. I saw it on the calendar, whatever. I go in there, there's nobody. And but the people that are dancing, yeah, they're dancing on two. I
Yeah,
mean, it's obvious. And so you get a lot of those kind of experiences. The New York salsa experience was really unique. It's super intimidating. Like I told you earlier, you go down those stairs of Kache, and there are tables that you could not sit on. Like the first table to the left was the Santo Rico table. Nobody sat at that table except unless you were Santo Rico. Like it was like clan warfare in some way. It was really tribal. Um, and so it was positive in that way, and it
yeah.
was negative in some ways, right? There are pluses and minuses to every one of those situations. The
I've seen
intensity
some
of
of
it.
that, man. I was hanging out with Juan Matos one time, and we were just going to the clubs. Like, hey, what's your name, sir? It's like Juan Matos. And then, oh, you can all come in. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you don't know my name, really? Yeah,
My name is Juan Matos.
yeah, exactly. And he gives that look because he
Oh yeah,
comes with a look too.
oh
His
yeah.
face changes with it too. Um,
Oh man, those
yeah,
were
man, New
the
York
days.
was,
I
yeah.
mean, now what's your thought process though? Okay, you're in New York City, the mecca of mambo, really. Um, And then there's Hawaii. I mean, what's the thought process here? I mean, I'd love to move to Hawaii too, but then I think that for me, I think Hawaii, I would treat Hawaii just for a vacation because I don't want it played out in my mind, you know. But I mean, what's your experience like? What's your thought process? And when you got there, how did it feel like, dude?
All right. So, my so the girl I was dating at the time, we met at Santo Rico years before. We got
Okay.
really serious into dancing,
Yeah.
doing it every day for probably about 3, 4, 5 hours a day.
Whoa.
Um, and so you get super and serious about it. You're on all the teams, you're traveling, whatever. And then at some point, you just, I turned 30, and I was just ready for a career change.
Mm,
And my girl was from Hawaii.
mm-hmm.
She'd been going to school out in New York, and so we had I'd come out here on vacations with her, and I was like, I didn't know what to expect. Like, for real, I didn't realize how many tall buildings and like what the infrastructure was here. Like, for real, I was nobody said anything to me, and
Yeah.
it's not like I knew anything about Hawaii. It's in the middle of the goddamn Pacific. So I found out that Hawaii was the fourth tallest city in America, meaning like there's just skyscrapers everywhere. And there's major hospitals and whatever, and like
Yeah.
even if I show you the view right now, like it's just tall buildings everywhere,
Well, yeah.
and
I mean,
it's a
yeah,
million people. Like it's a real full-fledged city. And
yeah,
once you see that, you start thinking, okay, so there's places to get a job. There's ways to make money out there.
yeah,
Plus, you don't get any you don't get November through March. That New York is just brutal. You hate your life.
yeah. All season.
And I saw an opportunity to like bring um, everything that we learned in New York, and be able to have it under our own control and
Mm.
with your own ambition.
Yeah,
And at some point, you just you have to spread your wings and do your own thing.
yeah.
At the time, leaving Santo Rico wasn't easy. Definitely came with some drama, but that's just kind of the nature of that.
That's just the way it
And
is. Yeah,
I also at the same time I didn't communicate what my life, what I wanted with the next stage of my life to be.
sure.
To be honest, it was nobody's business what I wanted to do with my life. But I had already set out a plan of like I want to move to Hawaii. Like I want to be with this girl and I want to start a new career. And you
Yeah,
just pick up and you do it. Like you
yeah.
just at some point you just you know
That's one of the
you make that leap.
that's one of the director's pain and suffering, to be honest with you. You have great dancers, and then there will be a time, that there will be a time they're going to leave you. It's just that when that time comes, you're not ready. You're never ready as
Yeah,
a director. It's like
yeah,
your kid, leaving you. That's just the way it is.
yeah. It's not easy. It's
It's
not.
not
It's
easy.
not easy. And we're lucky. The school that we built here, we're lucky that a lot of the people that have left us, we still see them. People get married, they have children. If anything, we try to at least keep the social element of it, because
Yeah,
ultimately that's the reason we do all of this. It's about
yeah,
building a community, and for me, that was a big part of it, is coming out here and being part of that community. I think it's super hard. Hawaii's a pretty gentle place to come in with like New York energy, and you need to start learning this on two thing. That's hard, man. Like
yeah.
there's a lot of resistance on that.
Oh yeah,
There's a lot of
oh
old
yeah,
timers here. They're like, nah, these people, no, we're not messing with this.
yeah,
So, but once you come in with the same energy of like, I'm here for the community. I've got my own way of dancing. Do you want to try it? And you come with some humility. People respect that.
yeah.
And
It
that
does take
was
time, though, don't you think? It does take time, right?
yeah. I mean, before the pandemic, it was we were at it for about 7 years,
Yeah,
so we were super successful. But it was really about the mentality. If you come at it, and this is any city, any
yeah,
non-major city, if you come at it
absolutely.
like, yo, I'm better than you, like step off,
Yeah,
embrace it, it's not going to work. You really need to be able to come at it from a friendlier perspective, a more humble perspective, and
yeah.
people respect that.
I've learned my lesson there 'cause I don't live there, man, and suddenly I just started a festival there with several partners that live there, but still there was that certain vibe that I know I felt. I was like, I gotta get more involved with those people, and I can't play favoritism, which was my mistake. That was a long time ago. That was 2012, bro. And
Yeah,
since then
yeah,
I learned a lot, and I made up with those certain leaders that I headbutt with, I made up with them. It's like, hey, look, I'm just here to help grow the community. I'm not planning to live in Hawaii or anything. It's all
right, right,
yours.
right, right, right.
I'll promote you whenever you want and all that stuff. And so, and this is why, like, I'm kind of back in doing at least bachata because there's much more to grow. And then, of course, now, as you know, Kizomba, there's much more to grow in Hawaii. That would be a really good thing that Hawaii can learn there. I mean, how is that going
Super
for
excited, super
you? Yeah,
excited about your event, man. Super excited. Can you give
dude.
people a little like just a rundown of that event, the date, the name, all of that,
Yeah,
your
it's
vision of
just
it?
that I didn't expect all of this artists coming, and my policy, and my policy in people coming to Hawaii, the artists like, hey, look, I can't pay you, but if you just want a vacation, I'll give you a room and I'll feed you. It's like, sold. I was like, all right,
Right.
it's because of I can't believe, to be honest with you, Stefan, we were talking, right? We were talking before the pandemic, man, and I was getting Sheraton, that hotel there for a moment.
Yep.
But then Alohilani called me because I never thought I could come back there. They
Yeah.
called
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
It's like we'll offer the same deal. It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
I got. And it was there because they have a bigger ballroom there. They said, look, if you think that as the day get close that it's gonna get bigger, we'll give you the ballroom for the same rate. Are you are you freaking kidding me? Yeah, you know. And so probably my goal with them is that if this is successful, I'll do a multi-year with them. And I really love that location because of the conveniency. Everything is there. McDonald's just across the street. That is, if you like that
Right.
type of food, you know.
Right. 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 Right.
Yeah, but since I left the festival, that was 2 years ago, I know that you had this interest and goals to do Kizomba and all of that stuff. How was that like, and how is that going to be in the future?
Yeah, well, so Kizomba is gaining traction, was gaining traction. Obviously, the pandemic made it a little bit more difficult, but it was gaining traction. We had a teacher here locally that was pushing on that, and so I was part of that program and kind of getting more comfortable with it myself and trying to inspire people to dance something different. And
Yeah,
look, the reality is there's two things that people really ultimately are looking for when they start this as a hobby. They're either inspired by the music or they're looking for connection.
yeah,
Now that could be a relationship, but that could also just be chemistry, like literally, human to human connection in a
absolutely,
dance in the
absolutely.
most like basic way. And there's no dance that gives you more of that than kizomba,
Feels good.
and so I think there's definitely a hunger for it. The more people see it, the more people are really inspired to want to learn how to do it. It's perfect for outdoor events here. We're going to be pushing to. I think the next stage of our own evolution here in Hawaii is also doing more outdoor events.
Rightfully
Um,
so. It's Hawaii, dude, and I can't believe you guys are not exploring that. You know.
yeah, to be honest, as a salsero, it's always been a little bit of a problem as
Of
far
course,
as surfaces,
of
right?
course, of
But
course.
if you're into bachata and
Kizomba.
kizomba, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter. You got a
absolutely.
lot more flexibility, and so there's some beautiful spots where you have a sunset behind you, palm trees, beach, whatever, and you've got concrete, and you're dancing on concrete with all of that there, and it's too perfect.
Yeah,
It's just too perfect, and so we're trying to do some of that. We're also thinking about doing a series of different views and different like hiking spots and beach spots and whatever, where we take an artist and we go do a video with them at
yeah,
that spot.
yeah.
J Squared, actually, shout out to them. When they were here, they did a video for that.
Oh wow.
Um, Jennifer and Jonathan out of New York dancing bachata. So they did that, and it's that kind of thing that we want to do because there's so many beautiful like nooks and crannies of this island that
Yeah,
the locals can bring you.
yeah,
You wouldn't really know if somebody didn't like bring you to that spot, and then you set up some decent camera equipment and you
yeah.
go and you've got like just a phenomenal video. And
You
so we
can't
want
go
to do more
wrong
of
with
that kind of stuff too.
you can't go wrong with shooting in Hawaii, film wise, video wise, Zoom wise, anything really. Especially at this day and age during the pandemic, a lot of people has really gotten into this filmmaking, recording thing. Hawaii would be so perfect, man. I mean, any space there would be
Yeah,
so perfect.
for the IG, man, for the gram at the end of the day,
Exactly, right? I
but that's my goal. My goal is to build a community here, in whatever format, whether that's my own event, whether that's pushing somebody else's event. I'm here to build the community first and foremost. Um, and that's the kind of stuff I'm focused on is
I
how
think
do
that's
I
why I
bring
think that's
Hawaii
why
attention?
people love you there because I didn't know how much of an effective leader you were until I got you involved in the festival, and a lot of people were inquiring because of you, and a lot of people wanted to buy the tickets because of you. To be honest with you, I was kind of surprised. I was like, whoa,
Yeah, no, no.
right? I was
Yeah, yeah,
telling you
yeah.
that, right?
Yeah, yeah. People sleep on me a lot, People like, it's the reality is I know I'm a white guy, but that's actually also my biggest strength, like a lot of
Indeed.
people take my strength in my classes because they're inspired of like, yo, if that guy can do it, then I can do it. You know,
Absolutely.
uh, and all of a sudden that also if they have racial stereotypes in their head,
Of course.
that's the way that we get rid of that is like, you listen, we all come together and it
Yeah.
has nothing to do with that. It's about putting in the work. It's about the love of the music. And, you know, you really break down their own barriers and their own limitations
Yeah.
with that perspective. And when I have these conversations with people, which are often,
Yeah.
you have enough of those people talk to each other, and then all of a sudden you tell them about an event, or you try to bring people together, or you
Yeah.
try to bring the community together, and people respect that. And ultimately, people know my energy. They know what it's about. They know that I'm here to improve the scene.
And I also know how you are during the event. You are one of the few instructors that love to dance, social dance, ask everyone. I'm an observer. I'm a watcher, as you know.
Yeah.
You'd see me often in that table in the registration area, but I watch everyone. Not because I'm
Every
just
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah,
my business.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Every grandma in the corner, I bring them to the floor, man. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If I
Yeah.
got the music, I'm good to go.
Right, right. Now, when it comes to hobby, was salsa a hobby as a start from you before getting into it, teaching and all of that stuff? Because I know you're educated in Cornell University. You're highly educated, and a graduate in a
Wow.
college and all that. Was that
Okay.
happening during your educate or your academic journey already with salsa?
Wow, you did your research. Okay.
I do. I always do.
Okay. So, I found music at that time.
Uh-huh.
Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
were in a cave there for a moment, but now it's gotten better.
Okay. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
So I found the music, and uh, here, actually, give me 1 second.
Yeah,
Uh,
you gotta center yourself there somehow.
all right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Now you gotta
Okay,
center your
perfect.
head there a little bit, bro. There you
No,
go.
that's
Better.
fine. Just the audio came in and out.
Yeah.
Okay. So I at Cornell is where I found the music.
Is that right?
The
Okay.
classes didn't really exist that much,
Yeah.
so that was where my obsession with the music, and I was listening to it for like 6 to 10 hours a day. It was literally all day long. Um, and then with time, I finally got the guts to take a class, but it took me a solid 2 years of like thinking about it, watching social dance videos. YouTube was just brand new.
Yeah.
Facebook was brand new. Um, so once I saw other people dancing it, and I felt more comfortable with my own masculinity, and I had to go through my own journey of uh, dealing with my self-esteem and self-conscious issues as a man, starting to dance. As I got more comfortable with that and over those issues, um, that's when like things started to fall into place, and my love of the music, I could truly start to explore it.
Yeah.
And you add New York and the level of teaching and instruction there. I took Jimmy Anton's classes and Ismael Otero's classes and Freddie Ruiz and eventually Santo Rico.
Hmm.
And you take all these people's classes, and you just at some point you have no choice but to get better. Like
Yeah.
you can't, and it's an obsession.
It
It
was
just
a given, man. I mean, you gotta get there.
And also, look, I mean, a lot of people, especially young professionals, and there's a conversation here to have about, a lot of people ask me about my dance business, and it's like, what's the kind of demographic? Is it mostly couples? Actually, it's not. It's
Mm.
usually young professionals that are either single or their relationship is strong enough that they can go off and do their own thing as a hobby.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what I find within my business. And I am an example of that. Young professional working in Midtown Manhattan that needed an escape, loved the music, the dance was an automatic. It was just like, and you find that a lot. A lot of people that are nurses, accountants, software developers, whatever, like it is like salsa in particular was perfect for that. So and then the ability, we're lucky here in Hawaii also that we have every day of the week, we had dancing.
That's good.
New York obviously has multiple events, you know, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, whatever. You have multiple events in different parts of the city. But I took advantage of that and I was out every day. Like work ended, change clothes, let's go.
Yeah,
You know, and you know, I took advantage of that.
that's good,
What
man.
about you?
Now,
What's your
what's it like in Hawaii? You're from New York. You know the vibe in New York, bro. It's a New York minute, as they say. So compared to Hawaii, because Hawaii is chill, dude.
right?
So what do you
Very
do?
relaxed.
What do you do to look for that New York energy? Because I know you miss it.
Um, I mean, look, at the end of the day, you're only as busy as, you know, as the calendar that you put together. You know, so I didn't come out here and was like, I'm gonna lay back and not do anything. No, no, I was driven right from the get-go. And to be honest, I worked harder in Hawaii than I did in New York. Um, because one, it was my own business, but two,
Yeah,
because I had ambitions, I had goals, I had
yeah,
stuff I needed to accomplish. So you're only as busy as you want to be at the end of the day. And that's true of whether it's a business goal or whether it's an ambition in dance. It
yeah.
doesn't really matter. If
So
you're
what do you
that
do?
driven,
What do you do
take that.
exactly in Hawaii besides the salsa scene? Are you a mortgage broker? Are you a realtor, or what do you do?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I help people finance their dream of owning their home. So I work for a local bank here, making that happen, and either people buying homes from the mainland or first time buyers, locals here that are trying to buy a piece of paradise, and
So,
or veterans who are trying to buy a piece of buy their first home that they
property,
fought
yeah.
for. So
What's it like in Hawaii as far as housing is concerned? Is it expensive compared to the Bay Area or New York?
well, nothing's expensive. Nothing is as expensive as the Bay Area,
Yeah.
but it's a little ridiculous, but I would
Yeah.
say, average home prices here, if you're looking for numbers, probably about 900,000 to, yeah, about single family homes.
Yeah, that's
Condos
not
are
bad.
about 450 to $500,000. So that's kind of the average sales price
That's not
across the
bad.
islands.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
not
we
bad.
have we have our high end areas like everywhere else. We have our low end areas as well, but everything is safe and nice. I mean, it's still Hawaii, so.
Mm,
It's definitely not some of the places I lived with in New York. Actually, one of my favorite parts
yeah.
is how everybody, no matter what socioeconomic level, respects the water,
Oh,
and that
that's
makes a
good.
big difference. Because the streets are clean here,
Yeah,
the water is clean here,
yeah,
because everybody respects the water. Ultimately, understands that we're all part of that of the water. Everybody's going to be jumping in the ocean, and
yeah.
we don't want to see bags and cups and all sorts of BS in the water. So that's one of my favorite things actually about Hawaii.
So Stefan here co-organizes as one of the partners in Hawaii Salsa Bachata Congress with Grant Wu. How is that going, you guys? Are you guys planning to do something next year, or what's going on?
Yeah, so things are still up in the air right now.
Yeah,
Um, still things are still up in the air right now with that. So we're in a transition period, trying to figure it out. Right now, I'm focusing on your event.
yeah, yeah,
And that's really where my energy is going right now. And Grant has been on your show,
yeah,
so you guys have had your conversations. And the reality is, we want to make sure that we're talking to the hotels. We've talked to between ourselves of what we want to do, and we'll release information about the timing of that.
yeah.
We did do pre-sale the previous year, so we're gonna do something, but the exact timing of that's got to make sense, and
Right.
it's got to But I credit you for putting on your event. Super exciting.
It's tough to do it in Hawaii, as you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But if you guys
Uh,
ever need my help when it comes to hotel and whatnot, it's because I'm a part of a certain organization all over United States as far as hotel is concerned. You let me know if you guys plan to move from that hotel to another hotel, you know?
no, I mean, that's one of the my favorite things about working with you
Yeah.
is that you understand, the struggle, and there's no, it's not about competition. There's actually plenty of business here to have multiple events, differentiating those events, working together. Ultimately, you actually, the one thing I've learned in business is you get a lot further
Yeah.
in partnerships than you do by yourself.
Partnership,
Um,
affiliations, you name it. It's very important, especially in our community, because if you think about it, Stefan, our community is so small compared to any other, so small, not too many people realize that.
yeah, man.
But
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
yeah,
How
man.
many events are you?
Well, it used to be 6 events in the United States only. I learned my lesson a long time ago to organize Congress outside of United States because the rules are a bit different. So now, well, the SFI, the San Francisco Bachata Festival, is now organized by my wife. I just get royalty in that one. I give that to her because
Okay.
I feel that's my legacy. Even if I were to die, that will continue. I have San Diego, I have Reno, and then I have Hawaii, and then I have Silicon Valley. Now, three of those will be gone and will be replaced by Las Vegas. To those of you who doesn't know, I just revealed it right here. It will be replaced by Las Vegas. So I'm concentrating on just probably 3 events, bro, per year. I think 6 was too much. Now at my age, organizing 6 festivals probably is not going to be good for my heart, to be honest with you, right?
Right.
So 3, I think, is good. Technically 2, because the third one is organized by my wife, and I don't need to worry about anything about that. So
Right.
uh, the Hawaii, I don't expect. See, this is the only festival that I like that I could actually care less whether or it grows or not, because it's my vacation. It's my getting in touch with certain people and just building that friendship. You become friends with people the moment you meet them in Hawaii, and then later on Las Vegas. Yeah, I expect it to grow. It's freaking Las Vegas, right? But Hawaii, I think that if my festival in Hawaii grows so big, I think I'm gonna lose touch. I think it's not gonna feel good for me because
Right.
it's that intimate thing that I seek in Hawaii.
Right.
You know what I mean, right?
It's the aloha. That's what
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
It's the aloha.
It's a
Like
totally
it's a
different vibe.
super, and you feel it the second you come off that plane. Like
Hell
it's
yeah.
like the island embraces you. It's
Yeah.
some people call that humidity,
I think
but
so.
I'm gonna call that aloha because it's
Yeah.
that you really do feel it the second you go to any store. The second I remember taking a lift, and the guy was just like his shitty little Honda, like it was beater from like 20 years ago, and he was
Yeah.
so friendly, like over the top, and that's just how he is. I'm like, yeah, this is Hawaii. Like you really do feel the difference.
That's the difference with the different islands that I've been to, and probably you can compare that with the islands you've been to as well. They're totally different vibes, and the vibe in Hawaii, I like it because you call it aloha vibe, and I'm gonna call it that because I never know how to call it. Now I know how to call it. Like it's the aloha vibe, dude. It's a totally
Yeah, yeah,
different vibe. People are so nice. you know,
yeah.
that's
It,
just the
it's
way it is. And
That's why I get so many East Coast people every year. Like for years, it's not just my connections out there.
yeah.
Our event used to be in February, so I strategically placed it in February when everybody's miserable in New York City. I'm like, all right, you guys, and not only that, I troll people on social media all the time throughout the entire winter. Um, Hashtag it's rough out here. But it's one of those things where I used to get a ton of people from the East Coast because and Canada because they're just like one, their cities are just not as friendly. Like for me, even I missed, I loved coming out here, and I didn't realize how much I missed being able to walk into an elevator and just say, hello, or, have a good day on the way out of the elevator. In New York, people are like, what are you trying to sell me? Are you crazy? Why are you talking to me? Like immediately, right? So um, it was so refreshing to be able to walk up and down the street here and just like say hi to people, the neighbors, whatever, and have that kind of feel,
Yeah.
and them not treat you like you're crazy, and have that just more natural, vibe. Like I didn't realize, a friend of mine actually is from Jamaica,
Uh-huh.
and he was telling me that in Jamaica, if you are walking to any store or you pass a neighbor and you don't say good morning or good afternoon, that's actually poor manners. You're
Interesting.
considered rude.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's just standard New York. You don't do any of that. Like, like that's, it's the exact opposite. So,
Yeah.
coming out here, I realized that the rest of the world, I'd spent too much time in New York basically, and I needed to balance myself out. And so I moved to Hawaii.
Well, do you see yourself living there at least for a long time?
Oh yeah, I'm 8.5 years in, and I'm not going anywhere.
That is
That's
awesome, dude.
I'm at this point. They're starting to treat me as what we call kamaaina, meaning
Oh, okay.
I'm from this place at this point.
That's good.
So it depends, like if I'm talking to the right person that's coming from New York, all of a sudden, the accent comes back a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
But for the most part, I've embraced it. It feels natural to be part of Hawaii and have that energy and that gentleness and that kindness. So
And I like the
that's
fact
everything.
that the community accepted you. That's a big thing, as you know. That's a big thing if you're coming from the East Coast.
They accept everybody.
Yeah, well,
They accept everybody. And to
once you
be
get to
to
know
be
them,
honest,
once you get to know them, yeah, I mean, like Rod and Lion of Judah, I mean, these people are so friendly. They come to my festival and they bring me Kona coffee.
yeah,
Charlie,
man.
he's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. We bring gifts everywhere we
I
go.
know, man, I know. It's
Yeah, we
like, what
do.
the
We
hell,
do.
right? But
But
look,
it's interesting, like you said that, because you know, that vibe is that level of acceptance. If I could give any new teacher advice,
yeah,
or not even a teacher, somebody who's actually trying to start a business in this,
yeah,
find a way to create a space of acceptance and instant approval for beginner dancers. That's what it comes down to.
yeah,
5 minutes of your time makes a world of difference for somebody else. But the second you have a conversation with somebody and they feel like they're part of the event,
yeah,
part of the community,
yeah,
all of a sudden you have now opened a new door for them, for their own ability to change their life, and have an avenue, a way of actually working on themselves and finding new friends, finding a significant other, whatever it is. Salsa's powerful that way. It could change
yeah.
your life if you um, if you are able to, one, create a space for approval, and you allow yourself to be accepted.
I
It
agree.
goes both ways. You
I
have to
agree.
also be open to it and to receive and to be received. So
Exactly. I mean, look, I look forward to seeing you in October. I know a lot of people are inquiring from and other countries. And I told them, look, if you're planning to come, make sure it's refundable, the tickets, the flight tickets, because I don't know the restriction in Hawaii during that time. But I'm predicting that during that time, everyone will be vaccinated. I just don't know the other countries, like Nanda from Belgium. She wants to come. Jennifer from UK, Salsa Jennifer Benavides. she wants to show up, man. I was like, okay, dude, you just gotta make sure, but gotta buy a flight that's refundable. And they want to stay
yeah,
there
yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
a week after the festival. So if they do that, Stefan, I'm gonna commit myself to stay there an extra week. I'm gonna get my freaking car and I'm gonna drive all over to Oahu because I haven't seen the entire island, as you know. And I
Well,
know you
yeah.
brought
Look,
me to
so
this. You brought me to this little restaurant, which are valuable to me because that's where the food is.
yeah,
Not the
yeah,
tourist
yeah, yeah,
spot.
yeah, yeah. So look, there's plenty of things that we've talked about doing, whether it's our event or just generally for the community, or whether it's
Yeah,
your event. Also, the locals are. If you get to know the locals, they'll take you around, and they'll do it pretty instantly. You know,
Yeah.
within that night, you meet somebody. The next day they'll be like, "Hey, I'm going snorkeling, you know, swimming with." If anybody goes on my IG, you'll see videos of me swimming with dolphins, with
Yeah.
turtles. We do that on the regular out here. Like
Mm.
that's common. So, you know, and that's a cheap. It's people don't understand. This is a cheap vacation. It can be.
It
You know,
can be
listen.
when you know people. Yeah.
Yeah, if you know what to do and how to do it, this is
Yeah.
actually a really cheap vacation.
Yeah.
And the locals are super open to taking you around. And so we've talked about doing something at China Walls out here, which is a beautiful. I actually have a video on my IG of me dancing with a girl named Saki from Australia. We get
Yeah.
about 20 to 30 Australians come to our event, and you know, for them, they're starting their vaccination process in the fall. And so it's interesting to, you know, we when we're thinking about events, we're thinking about, all right, by the end of October, are we going to have, can we start, you know, bringing people from Australia here? And then what do we do as a community event? You know, can we do a barbecue out on the beach with
Yeah.
people?
Yeah.
You know, we have local resources to make that happen. Do we
Yeah.
do a sunset or sunrise hike over Lanikai with like 20, 30 people? And all of
Nice.
a sudden, you know, you come down off the mountain, you see a beautiful sunrise on these islands, you know, with the little islands in the distance. And then on the way down, you have rainbows. Or like, it's incredible experiences that are very unique and don't cost anything. You know,
No, doesn't
you're
cost
hanging
anything.
out with your friends from Hawaii.
Just the
And that's the,
idea of doing your selfie, because nowadays it's all about selfies. Just the idea of doing your freaking selfies with a rainbow, that's hard to come by.
yeah, I mean, it's a rainbow state for a reason, but even, you
Yeah.
know, that's the reason why people come to a Congress is for a memorable of a time, you know? You know, there's plenty of Congresses
Yeah.
that it's just, it's just, your vision's blurred. Like one to the other, it's, the events are fairly similar.
Yeah.
What we try to do here in Hawaii with your event, with the different local events here, is to be able to create an experience where you're like, wow, like I don't, it wasn't even about the dancing. The dancing was there. It was great. Whatever. We had a blast, but I couldn't wait to get into the water. I couldn't wait to get onto the mountain. I couldn't
Yeah.
wait to like, you know, hang out on the beach or the infinity pool or whatever. You know, the hotel that you're at is amazing. It's a
So
beautiful
perfect
hotel.
location. Yeah.
Like you go onto that lanai, which is lanai is kind of is the word for porch. You know, it's
Yeah.
kind of this observation deck of the hotel, and you're overlooking Waikiki Beach. Is beautiful. Like I
Oh,
highly recommend, do your research. You know, go on Rod's website and see this thing because it is an awesome venue,
yeah.
right on the beach. You literally cross the street and you're in a beautiful spot. So
I think
a lot people are gonna love it.
that's my goal. I think twice a year I'll be in Hawaii at my festival and then your festival, which is in February. It gives me a chance to get out of freaking Nevada, which is snowing at that time.
Oh wow,
January,
wow.
February. Yeah, yeah. I want to get out of there, man.
Yeah.
So I was already telling Grant that, you know, let's cross promote. One of the things that I like about Grant, because back in the day, he was part of my festival. And then back in the day when I quit Hawaii, and he wanted to start a festival, he called me first. I was one of the first people that called me. It's like, hey, look, I want to organize Hawaii. You know, if you could help me out, partner up with me or something. And then I think I give him a response, which, I quit Hawaii, man. I'm not gonna do it in Hawaii anymore. Big mistake.
Yeah.
But
No,
it
no.
is what it is. I just love the fact how loyal Grant is and how generous he is. As you all know, most people that lives in Hawaii, including you, you know. So,
Yeah. Well,
and I
listen,
hope
like
that
this is the thing about
our attendees experience that when we get there. I really look forward to it. I know we'll talk more soon. I'll be bringing Grant, you, and some other Hawaii artists there before we do the event, and that way we could talk more about what to do in Hawaii. If you have 10 days, what can you actually do besides the festival? All this type of interesting stuff. And I'm sure that you guys can come up with ideas as far as making that happen, accommodating them. I know that San Souci Beach, which is just a few minutes away from the hotel, I know we'll do the picnic there from probably from 12 o'clock to 6 p.m. on Sunday,
yeah,
maybe, you know?
yeah.
So, because last time we did it there, we had to ask for a permit. So I'm gonna have to get into that again, whether we really need to ask a permission or we need a permit for it or not. I know family-wise, we don't need a permit, but if we have a bigger event than the family, we probably need a permit. So
Yeah. But we can, the locals will help you out.
okay,
That's the thing, Rod, is, we're here as a resource. Ultimately, it's for the community. And the more
agreed.
events and the more people we bring from different parts of the world to Hawaii,
Yeah,
and they start falling in love with Hawaii, they really, at the end of the day, it just helps them to have a memorable experience. They become close friends of ours. Like
yeah,
I used to go to Australia every year because of the people I met at the event, staying at their house, they stay at my house.
yeah.
Like that, those are friends for a lifetime.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
that's really the beautiful thing about the Congress circuit and making these relationships. So, people need to come out to Hawaii. Don't sleep on it. It's an amazing time. Amazing time.
All right, for now, we'll say goodbye and we'll talk later. Thanks for the time, Stefan. I gotten to know you more a little bit. Cornell graduate right there. That's a biggie, in our industry.
For
I
sure.
know
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
kind of embarrassed when I mentioned that, but that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
always good to have a backup plan, and that's a good secondary thing that you got there. As many of us are not into that, and so whenever I meet some of you guys, including you, it's an inspiration that I promote for the young ones who are who their ambition is a full-time dancer. That it's always good to have a backup plan, just in case, like this pandemic thing.
Yeah,
Everybody got affected, but
bro.
um, look. Let's talk some more later on. Right now, I'll post this later on. Tag you. Aloha for now.
Aloha, my brother. All
All
right,
right.
bro.
See you soon.
Take care.
All right.